over in Egypt, and that their ancestors were the ones that had constructed the Great Pyramid of Giza and the Sphinx.
Wow.
And subsequently, I did a little more research into it, found out that all those pyramids, the Great Pyramids, that whole complex is aligned with the constellation of Orion. And they told me and showed me that they come from the belt stars of Orion. And those pyramids are completely, exactly lined up with the three belt stars of Orion, which a lot of people, researchers have done a lot of research and found this out now.
I had a guy on the show who actually specializes in that, Robert Boval. He wrote the Egypt Code, and he was the guy who's credited with making that connection.
Guy. Yeah, he's done some great work. And there's another man out named Patrick Garrell who's written a book called The Orion Prophecy. And he's done a lot of great research on this Orion thing with the pyramids.
All right. So as this lady's talking to you, what are you thinking? I mean, had you had experiences with that kind of telepathy before?
Not really to that degree, because at first I thought, well, maybe this is just a wild imagination. Maybe I'm just hallucinating or something. But then she made a prophecy. She made a prediction. She said the next times that you come out back to Pine Bush, I am going to be performing some aerial movements in my ship that you will be able to capture on video. And sure enough, it was only a month later. When I was given a prediction and a promise like that, I was certainly going to get myself back out there as fast as I could. So it was about a month later that I made another trip back out, and sure enough, her craft appeared, and she put on these aerial movements, like she said. She started zigzagging around, showing me, these diagonal movements in this little smaller reconnaissance type triangular craft. These craft are incredible. They're very sleek. They're about maybe 30, 35 feet in diameter. And they are the most agile craft that I have ever seen. And they can move so fast, and they're interdimensional as well, because they can go in and out of dimension, which I have on video as well. And I've seen some interdimensional type of qualities to the craft. But the fact is that which really convinced me about the whole telepathic contact, that it was real, was the fact that she had made the prediction, and it came true.
Right.
And each time I go back out there in the trip, it gets closer, and I get more, and she gives me more and more sighting. She comes in closer. She does something a little bit more convincing so that I can get it down, and other people will be convinced as well. And during the telepathic contact, she had told me the reason why this was happening was because, she said, these were her exact words, I quote, she said, "Because you have already fairly progressed far enough through meditation and observance of creational laws, we decided that we discerned, actually, and decided that you were deserving of closer sightings and contacts from ourselves and our ships." Those were her exact words, I quote. And that's the whole reason it happened. And so this tells me the aliens are very open to people that are into self-improvement, self-realization, God realization, if you want to call it that, or any kind of spiritual development through meditation. And I've always done this down through the years. I've maintained spiritual unfoldment practices through meditation, and I'm a student of the occult, laws of the universe, like Hermes' sevenfold laws, and the seven axioms of Thoth, the ancient Egyptian prophet. Yeah, so because I'm sorry, go on.
Very interesting. I'm right there with you. But let me just take a short station break.
Sure.
Hello, everyone. You're listening to UFOs and the Paranormal Over Our Heads. I'm your host, Preston Dennet. And tonight we're talking with our guest, Phil Coseski, about Pine Bush UFO contacts and his amazing contacts with the Orions, and how these ETs are visiting our planet and are interacting with people and basically announcing their presence. And you know, Phil, I totally agree with you that they're very interested in people who are into self-realization and that whole thing. But I want to remind everyone listening that this is a call-in show. So let me give out the toll-free number if you'd like to ask a question of our guest. If you have a story to share or comment you'd like to make, we'd love to hear from you. We love callers in. The toll-free number is 888-228-4494. I'll repeat that again, 888-228-4494. Yes, we'd love to hear from you. Give us a call. And yes, Phil, you know, what you said about psychic development, you know, it was, in my case, I was totally skeptical of UFOs, and my mom died. I saw her ghost, and all this started to lead me into studying dreams and things like this. And I found out UFOs were real, and started doing meditation and all that, and had a whole bunch of leaps and bounds in that area spiritually, and started having a lot of sightings and contact, similar but to what you're describing, with just a couple of telepathic messages here and there, but nothing to the extent that you're talking about now. You've got to write a book. I hope you're writing a book about this. And
well, once I calm down, this is really kind of shaken me up over the past year and a half here. I've been so excited and so amazed at it that I'm just so consumed with the idea that it's happened, and you know, trying to prepare myself and you know, get back out there and do some more filming and get some better video, because you know, I've never really operated a camcorder before. Since 2007, I've been a real novice at using a camcorder. So some of my earliest video is kind of shaky, and you know, I didn't have a tripod, and you know, some of the objects that I filmed are bouncing around, and you know, some of the camcorder malfunction a little bit. So there's a real learning process to using a camcorder, especially when you're filming, you know, nocturnal lights in the sky at night.
Right. Well, you know, what no one's ever done, and it still needs to be done, is film themselves going on board a UFO or film the inside of one. There's a very slim chance that will happen, I guarantee that, because the aliens, some of them allow it, but most of them really prohibit it because they don't want that kind of notoriety. Because a lot of them, I mean, they can transform themselves into, you know, different images, I guess, as well. I mean, they can alter their appearance through some kind of psychokinesis, I think. Right. You mean the UFOs appearing to be helicopters or vehicles or what have you? Oh, exactly. I'll tell you that these beings that I'm in contact with from Orion, they're under some kind of a code, in fact, to do that very thing that you said. They will disguise their craft as Cessna airplanes. I have video where one of the triangular craft comes in, but it sounds exactly like a Cessna airplane. They have it. They can copy the sound of almost any object down so perfectly you would never notice the difference unless somebody had told you that what they're doing is imposing some kind of mimicry to disguise the craft, because they don't want to draw attention. In fact, if they were to fly around ordinarily in their plasma lights, you know, the ship engulfed in plasma lights, and they were to take away, and they were to fly around with the ordinary sound, the propulsion sound that's generated from their propulsion system, which is tachyon-based. If people were to hear this, they would freak out. I mean, they took away some of the normal, they've let me hear what their ships sound like without the mimicry. Right. I got some of it up, and it's very eerie, to say the least. And people not exposed to it gradually would start to freak out.